we're going to change things up and leave you all with a few hot takes and advice on how to best tackle the year ahead. We're bringing back some familiar faces to close out today's program in a round-robin-led conversation by none other than Amanda Kelly, Director of Streamlit and Product Experiences. Enjoy it.
It's no surprise that AI remains the top story across every business and sector. So as you all look out on 2025, what are you most excited about? And what's one hot take that you could leave with the audience today? Christian, let's start with you.
Do I have to say one?
Just one.
Okay, I would probably go with semantic models. The way you think about the opportunities for AI, a big one is democratizing access to data. Mm-hmm. And in reality, physical schemas are messier and more complex than people think. Mm. And semantic models help translate between natural language, how business users, how an organization thinks about the data, and what the data actually does. And semantic models play a role for AI, for language models, for agents to be able to interact with data. I think now we're at a point where more and more organizations have realized this. We're going to see more and more vendors incorporate into their platforms the ability to have semantic annotations to unlock the value of data and data. I'm very excited about.
That is really exciting. Vivek, what about you?
So the thing I'm most interested about is the technology advances that will make Christian's vision possible, right? Specifically, this area called inference-time reasoning. So sounds very nerdy. So to back up, let's ask how these models are trained. There's the process of pre-training, where you spend years kind of showing the model lots of data and letting them learn language. And then there's inference, where you ask it a question and it responds with a fairly simplistic process to tell you what it thinks the answer is. And the history of language models so far has been most of compute, most of those expensive GPUs you buy are used to train up these models. And the inference process stays fairly simple. Over the last year, a bunch of hackers started, experimenting with what could you do to actually induce these models to plan better or reason better. And a lot of these were things like prompt hacking, right? You tell the model, like, why didn't you reason step by step? Or, you really need this job and go try a little harder and work a little harder to get the right answer. And the big breakthrough in my mind in the last few months is researchers have started to figure out how to take some of these planning processes and bake them into the model itself, right? Mm. You can think of this like, if you read Daniel Kahneman's book, it's like system one thinking or system two thinking. There are some easy questions, you answer them easily, like intuitively, and there are some questions where you might want to ponder a little more, think a little more, and then answer them. So these models tend to be incredible for complex math problems, and you're wondering, why does that matter for our world? Why does that matter in the world of enterprise AI? And the thing Christian said, where you have really messy real-world schemas, really messy data, if you want to build very highly reliable natural language systems on top of this data, you need these systems to do reasoning really well. You need these systems to think like a human. You need these systems to come up with a plan, to come up with hypotheses for how they'd answer this question. You need them to know when they might be wrong and then self-correct themselves. And so the thing I'm most excited by is how do you make Christian's vision a reality using the technology that is starting to show up.
It's good, very congruent, and I'm glad that we have something both for our business users and that we can play with, but also some exciting things ahead on the technology side. So Baris, how about you?
I'm quite excited about the notion of trust becoming more and more real as companies build trustable AI systems. So building on what Vivek was saying, as AI systems become more agentic, they're able to reason and they're able to self-correct before they answer. So making AI much more trustworthy, both from a quality perspective as well as from a governance and legal perspective, is still a big hurdle. And I believe in 2025, a big part of that is going to be addressed. We're starting to see much better models, of course. These models are now able to reason. With the agentic systems, they're able to correct themselves. We're now bringing observability into the mix so you can see how well these models are doing over time. In addition, on the legal side, we're addressing some of the concerns from a governance and legal perspective. So as all of these things come together, with trust becoming more and more part of the system, I expect a lot of challenges to be addressed in the way of production.
Yeah, that sounds really exciting about how that's going to come forward. I'm also really excited to see what happens as we evolve on the open source side. right? So open source plays an important role in the broad ecosystem of software vendors, data platform providers, and AI makers. And for AI, open source really democratizes access to ideas, fosters diversity of thinking, accelerates innovation, creates communities to enhance understanding of AI systems, and it can also reduce cost, right? And I think also provide increased trust and visibility into the things that we're doing. One thing that I think is going to happen over the next year is we're going to see a lot more open source advancements in the coding assistants, right? So AI-driven low-code and no-code development tools that are going to elevate the role of a skilled developer and what they can do in an organization, and also make it more accessible, right, to some people who are first maybe coming into a coding environment. So with time-consuming but basic coding challenges being handed off to these assistive tools, that means that our developers now get to focus more on the complex, high-value tasks, the system architecture, the integration of AI capabilities. I know a lot of the engineers that I work with are going to be really excited to operate in that, and I'm really excited for the new products that we'll all get to build with those AI assistants. Before we wrap today's program, let's leave the audience with some advice to walk away with. So from your perspective, what's one step that they can take now in order to position their businesses to be more data-driven in the year ahead? Christian, let's go to you again.
Yeah, maybe I would start reflecting on what is the overall impact of AI. And a big aspect of it, for sure, is around productivity. And the one thing that I would encourage folks to think through is, how are they going to cope with and manage and leverage the increasing productivity that AI is going to give to their teams? I may have, 5 people in my team, but with AI, they may be doing the work of 10 or 15 or even 20 people. So it may be as challenging or as demanding as managing a team of 20. So it's both a blessing. I'm not going to call it quite a curse, but for sure, there's upside, but there's additional responsibility, additional work. It's a challenge, and the action that I recommend is start thinking with what would you do with a more productive team. Start thinking through how are you going to go and leverage that excess capacity, and how do you add value to your organization.
Yeah, that's a great tip. There's always change management there, and the more that we can think and get ahead of it, the more we're ready to embrace, right, the upsides of it.
One last thing, and it's not just about, oh, I'm scared, AI is bringing problem. No, think of it as a positive thing. AI is going to make your team more productive.
Yeah.
How are you going to harness that productivity?
That's wonderful. Vivek, how about you?
I just build on what Christian said. I think as a leader, you need to embrace endless curiosity, right? As a leader, you need to be spending at least a few hours a week using these models. Mm-hmm. You need to be spending at least a few hours a week trying to understand where they add value, where they don't add value. What are the places where they actually do a reasonable job? Where do they have limitations? Mm-hmm. This is not a problem you can delegate. Unless you build a very instinctive feel for how AI can help make your teams better, you're not going to be able to tell them what they should be doing. So the thing I'd embrace as every leader is this is not something you can delegate. This is something you have to learn and work with yourself. You have to experiment with yourself and encourage your teams to embrace that experimentation. Just telling them to use AI is not going to be helpful. Mm-hmm. Seeing them see you use AI, that's how lots of adoption is going to happen.
Yeah, leading from the front. Baris, what do you think?
I'm really excited about having a solid data foundation before you start building the AI systems. So AI feeds on data. So it's really important to bring all the data in one place so the AI can take advantage of it. But once you have that data in place, you want to make sure that it's secure and governed. If you're building an HR chatbot, for instance, and if you ask a question, who was promoted last week, you want the answer to be different for everyone who's asking the question. So I'm really excited about making sure that the data foundation is solid and ready for the AI revolution.
And I think that all fits together too, right? If you have that solid foundation, it makes it easier for yourself and others to try it. And then that makes it easier to predict and plan for all the great things ahead.
And manage the productivity.
That too. Well, it definitely sounds like with all of these things together, right, 2025 is going to be an amazing year where we're really going to see a lot of the impact of AI come together. Now, Ryan, over to you.
Thanks, Amanda. I loved that round robin format. A true water cooler conversation with great insights on how to better position yourself for success in the year ahead.